Have you ever tossed and turned on a sweltering night, sheets damp, a mind racing, wondering how anyone managed to sleep before air conditioning existed? It seems like a small, modern annoyance. But this single problem, the struggle to fall asleep in the heat, may have quietly shaped where humans built their homes, how they organized their days, and even how our bodies evolved to survive. To understand why heat disrupts sleep so violently, you have to understand what sleep actually requires. Deep in your brain, your hypothalamus works like a thermostat, and every night it needs your core body temperature to drop by roughly 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit before you can fall into deep sleep. This drop signals the release of melatonin and allows your brain to slide into its slower, restorative rhythms. On a hot night, that drop simply doesn't happen. Your body stays alert, primed, almost defensive, because heat is a survival signal, not a resting one. So the discomfort you feel isn't just irritation. It's biology refusing to let its guard down. Now imagine the same struggle, but without a fan, without a cold shower, without a refrigerator to chill a glass of water. This was the nightly reality for nearly every human who ever lived, for most of our species' existence. So what did they do? The earliest humans, evolving on the hot plains of East Africa, actually carried a hidden advantage. Unlike most mammals, humans lost most of their body hair and gained millions of sweat glands, an adaptation that let them cool down far more efficiently than other primates. This is part of why early humans could hunt during the punishing heat of midday when other predators were forced to rest. But efficient cooling during the day didn't solve the problem of a hot night, especially once humans began settling into fixed communities where you couldn't simply follow the shade. In the river valleys of ancient Mesopotamia, where summer temperatures regularly pushed past 110 degrees Fahrenheit, people developed one of the earliest architectural solutions: the flat, sun-baked mud brick roof. These roofs weren't just for keeping rain out. They became bedrooms. As the sun went down, families would climb narrow staircases and drag their sleeping mats onto the rooftop, letting the desert wind pull the day's heat away from their bodies. This rooftop sleeping tradition was so essential that historians see it echoed for thousands of years across the Middle East and North Africa. In the Indus Valley, archaeologists have found early cities built with remarkably advanced planning, including narrow streets deliberately angled to funnel breezes between buildings. Even the placement of windows mattered. Small, high openings didn't just provide light, they created a slow, constant flow of air, an ancient form of passive cooling, centuries before anyone understood the physics behind it. But architecture was only part of the answer. Ancient Egyptians, living beside the Nile in scorching heat, developed a technique that feels almost inventive by modern standards. They would soak reed mats or linen cloths in water and hang them across doorways and windows. As the desert air passed through the wet fabric, evaporation pulled heat out of the air itself, cooling the room before it ever reached the sleeper. It's the same principle behind a modern swamp cooler, discovered by trial and instinct thousands of years before anyone wrote down why it worked. Some cultures took an entirely different approach. They simply refused to fight the heat directly. In ancient Rome, the brutal midday sun gave rise to a practice we still recognize today, a period of enforced rest, often extending into the evening meal that pushed physical activity into the cooler hours after sunset. Markets reopened at night. Meals were eaten late. Life itself was rescheduled around the sun's cruelty. This rhythm still survives in siesta traditions across Mediterranean and Latin cultures, not as a lazy indulgence, but as an inherited survival strategy passed down from bodies that once had no other choice. And this raises a question modern sleep science is only beginning to fully explore. Was unbroken 8-hour nightly sleep ever truly natural? Some historians and sleep researchers point to evidence of what's called biphasic or segmented sleep, a pattern where people slept in two separate blocks through the night, waking for an hour or two in between. In hot climates, this makes a strange kind of sense. Waking during the coolest, darkest hours to sit outside, talk quietly, or simply let the body catch a breeze may not have been insomnia at all. It may have been an adaptation, a natural pause built around the rhythms of heat and darkness rather than the rigid, single block of sleep we now consider normal. Even sleeping positions changed with the seasons. In many hot climate societies, elevated woven beds, raised on legs above the ground, weren't just about avoiding scorpions and insects. Air could move beneath the sleeper's body, carrying heat away from the skin far more effectively than lying directly on packed, sun-warmed earth. It's a small design choice, but one repeated independently across cultures from West Africa to Southeast Asia, a sign of how universal this problem truly was. And it wasn't only about clever inventions, there was also surrender. In the hottest regions of the world, families often abandoned the indoors altogether, sleeping communally on rooftops, courtyards, or open verandas, trading privacy for the simple relief of open air. In some communities, this nightly gathering under the stars became more than a practical necessity. It became a ritual of connection, a shared discomfort that pulled people together instead of driving them apart. What's striking when you step back is how much of this ancient struggle still lives inside us. On the hottest nights of the year, when air conditioning fails or simply isn't available, modern humans instinctively reach for the same solutions our ancestors once relied on. We open windows to catch a cross breeze. We soak a cloth in cool water and press it to our skin. We move to a cooler room or step outside just to feel the night air. Without realizing it, we are repeating rituals thousands of years old, echoes of a problem our species has never fully escaped, no matter how advanced our technology becomes. Perhaps that's the real revelation hidden inside this ordinary discomfort. Long before humans understood evaporation, airflow, or thermoregulation, they were already solving these problems through instinct, observation, and the simple, universal drive to survive the night. The struggle to sleep in the heat isn't just an inconvenience passed down through history. It's a quiet reminder that beneath every modern comfort, the same ancient body is still there, still listening to the same signals it always has, still waiting for the world to cool down enough to let it rest.